Some 3,000 North Korean troops have moved to Russia so far, according to South Korea's intel agency, with thousands more likely to be sent there by December. The first batch could arrive in Russia's Kursk region as early as Wednesday local time. The number of newborns in August was up almost 6% on year, likely affected by a post-pandemic increase in marriages. The IMF forecasts South Korea's economy to expand 2.5% this year, unchanged from its previous forecast. It's October 23rd, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin with the latest on North Korea's apparent involvement in Russia's warfare in Ukraine. South Korea's intelligence agency now estimates that North Korea has so far sent 3,000 troops to Russia and believes there will be a total of 10,000 deployed there by December. The National Intelligence Service shared this information during a closed-door meeting with lawmakers on Wednesday, saying that the troops appear to have been sent to multiple training facilities in Russia and are adapting to the local environment. The NIS earlier confirmed last week that the North has sent some 1,500 special forces to Russia. Against this backdrop, more footage has been shared online containing what look and sound like North Korean troops at a Russian military facility. Our correspondent Kim Jong-sil has the latest.
You're looking at a group of men believed to be North Korean troops gathered outside in winter gear. The video was released by independent Russian media outlet Astra Press on Tuesday local time. Astra says that the video appears to be taken at a military unit, part of the 127th Motor Rifle Division, located in Sergiyevka Primorsky Krai in Russia's Far East. Astra reported that the military complex seen in the footage is the newest facility in the region, having opened in July 2022. Meanwhile, Chief of Ukrainian Defense Intelligence Kirilo Budanov told the U.S. defense industry outlet The War Zone that he expects the first North Korean troops to arrive as early as Wednesday in Russia's Kursk region, which has been partially occupied by Ukrainian forces. As reports of North Korean troops arriving in Russia continue to surface, the U.S. Pentagon said on Tuesday local time that it is closely monitoring the situation.
Right now, we're looking into those reports. This development would mark a dangerous and highly concerning development, but we'll continue to keep you updated on information as we are able to make it available, and of course are consulting with our allies and partners in the region.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte also addressed the issue on Tuesday, mentioning the dialogue with South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol on NATO's request to send South Korean experts to brief the North Atlantic Council.
That will now happen early next week, and then we will see whether North Korea is indeed or not supporting Russia's illegal war in Ukraine. If they would be sending troops to Ukraine, that would mark a significant escalation.
North Korea denies the deployment, while Russia has recently taken a more ambiguous stance on the reports. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
With the U.S. presidential election just around the corner, the North Korean leader has for the first time made public his visit to the regime's strategic missile base, where he inspected a long-range missile. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji has the details on what this may mean.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited the regime's strategic missile bases after Pyongyang denied claims that it has sent troops to help Russia fight against Ukraine. The North state media said Wednesday that while inspecting the facilities there, Kim emphasized that the United States' nuclear capabilities pose a greater threat. He also reportedly stressed the need to modernize and fortify the strategic missile bases so that they can stay ready to carry out counterattacks against enemies. The KCNA did not say when the visits took place. Photos released on Wednesday show Kim inspecting the Hwasong-18 intercontinental ballistic missile and the hypersonic missile. ICBMs are known to be capable of reaching the U.S. mainland if fired at the right angle, and hypersonic missiles are difficult to detect because of their unpredictable flight paths. This is the first time that North Korea has publicly revealed a strategic missile base, and experts say that this is an attempt to show off its long-range missile capabilities.
North Korea appears to be trying to emphasize that it has the capabilities to respond to possible threats caused by its deployment of troops to Russia, showing the United States that they're capable of retaliation.
The latest visit also comes just 2 weeks ahead of the U.S. presidential election in November. So it's also seen as a move to send a political message, to remind Washington that it has nuclear power, and to warn the U.S. that it should not consider an attack. 배은지, Arirang News.
South Korea's top security official has agreed to cooperate with NATO countries in responding to North Korea's deployment of troops to Russia. According to the presidential office on Wednesday, National Security Advisor Shin Won-sik met with his counterpart Jacek Safieddine, who is part of the Polish presidential delegation currently on a state visit to Seoul. The two officials welcomed the close cooperation between their leaders and countries, particularly in the security arena, and pledged a partnership with the international community in response to the latest military initiatives between North Korea and Russia. Shin also held a phone call with his Czech counterpart Tomáš Pojar to discuss follow-up measures after President Yoon Suk-yeol's official visit to Prague last month. The two sides agreed to respond firmly to North Korea's dispatch of troops to Russia by coordinating and cooperating closely with the international community. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping met at the BRICS Summit, calling each other dear friends 3 months after their last meeting. They discussed the war in Ukraine, saying there was a general consensus between them. Cha Yoon-kyung has more.
President Vladimir Putin greeted President Xi Jinping on Tuesday at the opening of the BRICS Summit. Putin said with full confidence that Russia and Chinese relations have reached the level of a comprehensive partnership and become a model of how relations between states should be built in the modern world. Xi also expressed confidence that the profound friendship between the two countries will not change, nor will their sense of responsibility as major countries for the world and for the people. He said that as China and Russia have become neighboring major countries, they feature a non-confrontational relationship that does not target any third party. The Kremlin said the two leaders discussed the war in Ukraine during private talks and reached a general consensus regarding international issues. However, there was no detailed explanation offered. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
In the Middle East, Israel asserts its airstrike on the outskirts of Beirut earlier this month killed a key Hezbollah member who had been expected to take the reins of the militant group. Lee Eun-jin brings the latest.
Israel on Tuesday confirmed that one of its airstrikes earlier this month has killed Hashem Safieddine, the heir apparent to the late Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. The powerful cleric was widely expected to replace Nasrallah, who was killed in an airstrike on September 27th. According to the Israel Defense Forces, Safieddine was killed in a strike carried out on October 4th in the southern suburbs of the Lebanese capital Beirut that also killed 25 other Hezbollah leaders. At the time, Israel said Safieddine had probably been eliminated. However, Hezbollah has not yet confirmed his death. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, currently on a week-long Middle East tour, held talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday to discuss post-war plans for the Gaza Strip. According to the Prime Minister's office, the Israeli leader suggested that the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar may have a positive impact on the return of hostages, the achievement of war goals, and post-war plans. Netanyahu thanked the U.S. for its support against the so-called Axis of Resistance, while Blinken urged the Israeli leader to capitalize on the death of Sinwar as an opportunity to end the conflict in Gaza. The U.S. envoy also called on Israel to improve humanitarian assistance for Gaza. Also on Tuesday, during a press conference in Beirut's southern suburbs, Hezbollah claimed responsibility for a drone attack last week that targeted Netanyahu's home. The attack on Saturday cracked glass in a bedroom window, but the reinforced glass and other protections prevented actual penetration. There were pieces of glass that reportedly landed in the family's pool nearby and in the yard, but there were no injuries and the Prime Minister and his wife were not home at the time. Hezbollah spokesperson Mohammed Afif also stated that some of the group's fighters were captured by the Israeli army, stressing that while the enemy is not committed to the ethics of war and international conventions, it bears the responsibility of preserving the lives of the captives. The press conference was cut short due to an Israeli evacuation warning, and just minutes after the journalists left, an Israeli strike hit hundreds of meters away from the site of the conference. 이은진, Arirang News.
South Korea has received an additional list of people who were on board a Japanese vessel that sank in August 1945, known to have killed thousands of Koreans. The Foreign Ministry announced Wednesday that after consultation with the Japanese government, Tokyo provided Seoul with 34 documents related to the Ukishima ship passengers. This comes after the Korean government received 19 documents last month. Right after the end of World War II, the Ukishima ship was transporting Korean wartime forced laborers home before it suddenly exploded and sank. Findings for the month of August show a rise in the number of newborns and newlyweds here in Korea. Choi Soo-hyung explains in detail.
The number of births in South Korea in August remained in the 20,000 range, following the increase seen in July. Data from Statistics Korea released on Wednesday showed that there were 20,098 births, a 5.9% increase compared to the same month last year. In the past 5 months, the number of births has increased each month except for June. It is believed that many couples who delayed weddings due to COVID-19 got married between August 2022 and March 2023, and a majority chose to have children. The statistics authorities say it is possible that the number of births will keep rising in the third quarter, and if this trend continues for the rest of the year, the annual birth rate might increase for the first time since 2014. Meanwhile, the number of marriages registered in August rose 20% to over 17,000. These have risen for 5 consecutive months, increasing by over 30% in July. It is believed that the increase is due to more people in their early 30s, Korea's median age for marriage, tying the knot. The number of deaths at over 32,000 rose 5.6%, continuing the natural decline in the population. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Korea's economy is expected to expand 2.5% this year, according to the International Monetary Fund, whose officials believe the fight against inflation is almost won. Shin Ha-young with the details.
The International Monetary Fund on Tuesday maintained its outlook for South Korea's economic growth at 2.5% for this year. This outlook is on par with its July forecast when it raised the projection due to the country's faster-than-expected growth in the first quarter, driven by strong exports. October's projection aligns with the OECD's expectations and is lower than the anticipated growth set by the South Korean government of 2.6%. The IMF expects South Korea's economy to grow by 2.2% next year, unchanged from its July forecast, but did not provide further details on the reasons. As for other nations, the IMF raised its growth forecast for the United States by 0.2 percentage points to 2.8% this year on the back of rising consumer spending. But Japan's growth was downgraded to 0.3% from July's projection of 0.7%. The growth outlook for China was cut to 4.8% due to weakness in the real estate sector and low consumer confidence. And the Eurozone's growth forecast was lower to 0.8%. Regarding the global outlook for this year, the IMF kept it steady at 3.2% but lowered its projection for next year to 3.2%, 0.1 percentage points down from its July forecast. The IMF gave a positive assessment of the global fight against inflation.
The battle against inflation is almost won. After peaking at 9.4% year-on-year in the third quarter of 2022, we now project headline inflation will fall to 3.5% by the end of next year.
However, the IMF warned the downside risks to the global economy have increased since July. Key concerns include escalating regional conflicts, particularly in the Middle East, which could pose serious risks for commodity markets. It also noted that maintaining a tight monetary policy for too long could abruptly worsen global financial conditions. It emphasized that central banks should adopt a cautious and flexible approach to monetary policy, considering inflation, growth, and employment conditions. 신하영, Arirang News.
South Korea is to extend its fuel tax cuts till the end of the year. The cuts have been due to expire at the end of this month. The Finance Ministry announced on Wednesday that amid efforts to reduce the burden from taxes and fuel prices, the fuel tax cuts will be extended, though the size of those cuts will be reduced. The tax cut rate for gasoline will be reduced from 20% to 15%, while for diesel, it'll drop from 30% to 23%. This is the 12th time that the government has extended the fuel tax cuts since they were first implemented in 2021. Starting from Thursday, electricity bills for South Korea's industrial sector are to increase by an average of 9.7%. The Trade Ministry and Korea Electric Power Corporation announced this on Wednesday as it looks to alleviate the burden for KEPCO, which suffers from a debt crisis. Industrial electricity bills are generally applied to conglomerates like Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Steel that use a lot of electricity in the process of chip and metal production. Industrial electricity use takes up more than half of the overall use. Meanwhile, electricity bills for households and commercial use will remain the same. A trade show here in the nation displays the latest developments in the world of robotics aimed at enhancing customer service and factory production. Our Moon Hye-ryun has a glimpse.
Hey Stella, can you tell me about Robot World 2024?
Robot World 2024 is taking place from October 23rd to October 26th, 2024 at Kintex.
This is Stella, one of the robots on display at South Korea's biggest robot exhibition. With a name typically given to humans, this robot interacts with people directly. Stella supports generative artificial intelligence and large-scale AI language models, which enable it to engage in real-time conversations. This also means that it can be adapted to fit any kind of environment or situation, and is a great example of how robots can make industry smarter. These robots can connect businesses and consumers in various commercial spaces, such as hotels, shopping malls, and unmanned stores, which have been on the rise in South Korea following the COVID-19 pandemic. Data from a domestic credit card company show that the number of unmanned stores increased by nearly 5-fold in the past 5 years, and robots are driving this trend.
Robots using a large language model can converse like a human, so even those who are unfamiliar with technology, such as the elderly or disabled, can use it quickly.
Other than directly handling customers, robots showcased at Robot World 2024 can also work with each other. This robot called Amy takes orders from a customer and passes on the order to a different robot, Alice, which is working in the kitchen. Amy remembers where it took the order and then delivers the food. This is important because as businesses become increasingly automated, the different robots they use will need to coordinate with each other to carry out the work needed. Robots are helping businesses behind the front lines too, especially on the manufacturing production lines. These robots have been described as leading the automation of manufacturing lines for small to medium-sized businesses. They're popular not only in the country, but also for firms abroad. Recently, these robots were exported to Germany, Australia, and Brazil. The reason for their popularity among SMEs is due to lowered costs and their safety features, which enable people to teach them work easily without having to know complex coding.
It's easy to use because you can just press a button and place the robot where you want it.
As businesses continue to embrace automation, events like Robot World 2024 remind us just how robots are shaping the future to streamline production and costs for businesses and provide a better experience for people. Moon Hye-ryun, Arirang News.
In downtown Seoul, a festival celebrating the rich cultures of Korea and the Arab world took place on Tuesday to allow people the chance to experience and enjoy diversity and its importance. He was there.
Many people know the Arabic greeting, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. But there's more to discover, thanks to the efforts of the Seoul Tourism Association and Korea Arab Society here at Gwanghwamun Square.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the Salam Seoul Festival. Here, you can experience both Asian and Arab cultures in a fun and engaging way. From booths with different activities to lively music performances, let's see what this vibrant celebration has to offer.
El Sole is a Korean cosmetic brand that holds both vegan and halal certification, allowing the company to focus on the Islamic market. Halal certification confirms that the product is prepared in accordance with Islamic law, which can be a complex and lengthy process. Many other Korean brands are also working towards the goal of being more inclusive.
These are our first vegan certified products. As we expand into the Middle Eastern market and meet the needs of international customers, we are working towards obtaining halal certification.
The Korea Muslim Federation estimates that around 200,000 Muslims live in South Korea. However, the Seoul Tourism Association says there's more to do regarding facilities that suit the needs of global visitors from a variety of backgrounds.
For Seoul to thrive as a global city, we need to create a welcoming environment for visitors. We've been focusing on finding and supporting halal certified restaurants, and we're also working to set up prayer rooms in hotels.
After 6 years of efforts, the association is now taking a step farther by hosting the festival for the second year.
I really appreciate the fact that everybody can feel included in this festival, because there is a stand about vegan food, and also the makeup and the skincare products are vegan, so everybody can use it without trouble.
While Muslim women often choose to cover up, there's a vibrant and beautiful world of fashion beneath that exterior. Korean fashion designers, in collaboration with Indonesian brands, showcased a unique blend of traditional Korean attire and modest fashion favored by Muslims, featuring loose-fitting clothing. And to round off the festival, a series of special performances, including from the National Folk Arts Troupe of Tunisia and the Korean band Harim, performed using instruments from various countries and sang in Arabic. Beautifully showcasing cultural diversity and leaving a lasting impression, the Salam Seoul Festival promises many more exciting endeavors to come. Hee, Arirang News.
Clear weather continued in Seoul today with windy and chilly conditions. Tomorrow morning, Seoul will be at 7 degrees Celsius, which will be 4 degrees lower than today. However, from the daytime onward, temperatures will warm up again with typical autumn weather and large daily temperature differences. In addition, we need to be careful about the strong winds. In particular, strong winds of more than 30 meters per second will hit the mountainous areas of eastern parts of Gangwon-do province, where a strong wind warning is in effect. In other areas, there are places where it will blow more than 20 meters per second, so it's better to secure things that could get blown away. Tomorrow, Daegu will start off at 8 degrees, Gwangju 9 degrees. Highs will move up to 19 in Seoul, Chuncheon, and Daejeon, Busan 23 degrees. Inland areas are expected to be mostly clear, and autumn weather with large daily temperature differences will continue for the time being. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.